Dan Illman, Matt Bernier are kicking off a pick 5 sequence at Santa Anita on Saturday with race number 6, the Grade 2 San Carlos Stakes at 7 furlongs. You can play the pick 5. You can play this nice Santa Anita card with a new DRF Bets account. Deposit $50, bet with $200. Learn more at bets.drf.com. Let's meet the field of sprinters getting set to go 7 furlongs in race number 6. Morning line favorite from the Baffert barn. That is the number 2 Axeman. Axeman has always hinted at a lot of potential. Baffert's just had a lot of problems getting him to the races. His most recent start, though, was very impressive. He beat a couple of next out winners. One of them, Edwards Going Left, came back to successfully stretch out to win the Tis Now Stakes with a 101 Beyer speed figure. Now, Axeman has speed. He likes 7. I thought he took advantage of a gold rail last time out. I might be wrong about that.
Well, I think the other thing you need to factor in with a horse like this, it feels like whenever they've really kind of given him a serious acid test, and I'm not suggesting that these other stakes races that he has run in and even competed well in are not necessarily up to par with this race, but whenever he has really gone into the deep end, he has just completely flopped. He hasn't run very well. He didn't run well in the Malibu. I understand it was off of a layoff, but he didn't really run all that well in the Los Al Derby. He ran terribly at Churchill Downs in the Matt Winn, and sure, he won the Sir Barton, but again, a restricted field, sloppy sealed track. He's the kind of horse that, to me, until he proves that he is of this caliber, I want to try to beat him at a short price.
Baffert also has the number 6, Dr. Door, 7-2 third choice on John White's morning line. This horse already a graded stakes winner, although that graded win, the Californian, came at 1 1/8 miles. Listen, he took on Accelerate, Diversify, Catalina Cruiser, Accelerate again in the Pacific Classic. He was taking on the best of the best. He's now returning to his favorite track. I'm not sure this is his favorite distance. He is going to have to come off a long layoff.
And to be honest, I don't know what happened with this horse as far as form is concerned, because the Gold Cup out at Santa Anita back in May, okay, he was well handled by Accelerate, but he finished ahead of City of Light, and we know what City of Light ended up coming back to do. So the form of this horse just went sideways in such a tremendous way. And I can't help but think that they were campaigning him at 2 turns for a long, long time. I do wonder if this is nothing more than a means to an end. Shake the rust off and get ready to look for something longer. Maybe it is the Gold Cup coming up here in a few weeks, but I can't help but think this is a prep.
He has sprinted successfully in the past, however. Baffert also has the most lightly raced horse in the field, the horse with perhaps the most upside potential, and that is Zadder, coming off an off-the-pace win with a career-best 88 Beyer speed figure. Now, that number pales in comparison to the top contenders in this field, but it was over a good racetrack. It was off a little bit of a layoff, and this horse, again, has some upside. I expect him to be running late. He was a good 2-year-old back in the day before that long layoff.
That's the problem. And even with that long layoff, and sure, he's going the right direction, he's just not much faster than he was as a 2-year-old. And I don't know if that's because he hasn't developed or because of the injury or whatever else it may be. But I mean, I think you just called a spade. Or right now, he's not fast enough to run with the big boys.
Let's take a look at the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this 7 furlong dash. We've got the 2, the 3, and the 4 expected to contest the pace. I expect Axeman and St. Joe Bay, the 2 and the 4, to make the early running, and the 3 Touching Rainbows to take back and sit just off the pace. Let's talk about Touching Rainbows, because those were the tactics he utilized last time to win the Cal Cup Sprint with a 97 Beyer speed figure. He has an enviable win record. He is 7 for 18 lifetime. He is a horse with excellent tactical speed, as we've talked about. The question is he truly graded stakes class? He does have that one good race at Del Mar last year, the Bing Crosby.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm very torn. I feel like he's more of a Cal-bred type as opposed to a graded stakes type, but at the same time, I really like that run in the Cal Cup Sprint, and he beat a nice horse in there, Edward Going Left, who we've talked about already, who was a common opponent against Axeman, I believe. So, Touching Rainbows, he's got some things going for him. I like that he closed that day in the Cal Cup Sprint when there wasn't a ton of speed signed on. The problem is, Timeform US had the main track that day very closer friendly, so he had that to his advantage. I wonder if that sort of mitigates the lack of pace that he had to run at.
Another Cal-bred in this race is the likable 8-year-old gelding Solid Wager. He's been in the exacta 20 of 50 tries, and You were always sort of campaigning for this horse to end up on the East Coast. He's a one-run closer. The tracks at Santa Anita just don't seem to work out for him. The fact that he's run so well without winning at times proves that he has talent. Send him over to the East Coast. And it was as if Peter Miller finally listened. He sent the horse over to Chris Engelhard. Bang, he won the Grade 3 toboggan. Bang, he ran second going a one-turn mile. What's he doing back in Southern California?
You know, it's your guess is as good as mine. I would have loved to have seen him stay there. You and I spoke about it a little bit earlier, the idea of the Carter, which is just next weekend. I would have loved to have seen him run in that race. You know, you take a shot here. Maybe this works, maybe it doesn't. I think he's a nice old guy. I think he shows up. He runs his race more often than not. Again, it's hard for me to argue with a horse that's won 11 of 50 and 15 other times he got in a piece. I still prefer him out on the East Coast.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 2 San Carlos Stakes. I really like Kanthaka in this spot. I think 7 furlongs hits him right between the eyes. Last time out, they tried 6. They tried Roy H. Pretty daunting task for Kanthaka's first race against older horses, and he was just simply out-sprinted going 6 furlongs. He doesn't have that kind of gate speed. He eased out in the stretch after rallying inside on the turn. He was coming at Roy H. late. He was never going to beat him. He galloped out right by him after the wire. I know Roy H. was being geared down late, but I thought it was a useful effort for Kanthaka. 7 furlongs with pace. That's the key. Does he get enough pace? I think with Axeman and your top pick, St. Joe Bay, in here, the pace should at least be honest. I'm looking for a good effort for Kanthaka.
Yeah, I don't know if the pace will be the excuse if for some reason someone from off of it isn't good enough to get it done. You and I spoke again before we came on. Kanthaka, I don't question his quality. I don't question the connections, anything like that. Santa Anita just terrifies me with these horses that come from so far back because it's so difficult to make up ground. And you're right, he finished very, very well, and he galloped out full of run. You and I were talking about the workouts where he's just been breezing 3/4 of a mile after 3/4 of a mile. It seems a little bit peculiar. The only other thing, and we've talked about it a number of times over the past years, Hollendorfer's number, the big move, is the second off the bench, and we're not that far away from the first Saturday in May. And I could be wrong. I believe the Churchill Downs is now a Grade 1. So I wonder if this is, we're going to go. Hopefully he comes with a big late run. If it's good enough to win, great. We're going to have him peaked, ready to go in a few weeks. At the end of the day, he is, to me, he's the most likely winner. I think he'll be the favorite. I think he deserves to be the favorite.
Let's talk about St. Joe Bay, multiple graded stakes winner, like Solid Wager, just a real likable old guy that seems to show up each and every time. And last time out in the Palos Verdes, he ended up battling for the lead with Roy H., and that's just not going to work out.
No, and I think, again, he's the kind of horse that was a day that Timeform US had the main track intensely closer friendly. When you're out there cutting out 21 and 2, you're probably going to feel the effects of it. Now, 7/8 of a mile, probably not his ideal distance. I think he's better going a little bit shorter, 3/4 of a mile. But the thing that I was most heartened by is 2 starts back at Los Al, he actually sat off of a target and went and was able to get the job done. And that's something that he had really never done throughout his career. He was always that kind of need the lead type. So if Axeman wants to go, I think Victor's going to have St. Joe Bay parked just off of him. And like I said, Axeman, who knows, maybe he'll make me look silly on Saturday, but I feel like when he gets into the real deep end and things get a little bit tough, I think he's one to wilt. Maybe St. Joe Bay is the one that can get the jump on everyone else and hopefully hold him off.
Give me numbers.
4, 1, 2, 3.
I'm going 1, 2, 4 in the Grade 2 San Carlos, kicking off a pick 5 sequence at Santa Anita on Saturday. Bet it with a DRF Bets account. Deposit 50, bet with 200. Sign up is easy at bets.drf.com. Approximate post time for the San Carlos, 3:30 Pacific. Best of luck.